I forced a kiss on a man at a bar. After kissing him, I clung to him, crying and shouting, asking why he didn't like me. He didn't answer, so tears streamed down my face, and I simply refused to let go of him. Finally, amid the crowd's cheers, in a burst of excitement, I grinned foolishly and let out a loud, drunken burp right in his face. Later, Ma Jiao said she had used every ounce of her strength but still couldn't stop me. The drunken mess. In the end, the man I forcibly kissed carried me out of the bar and handed me over to Ma Jiao, who trailed behind, looking utterly helpless and on the verge of tears. After Ma Jiao dragged me back to the apartment we shared, I collapsed on the bed, completely unconscious, and slept like the dead. By the time I fully woke up, it was already noon the next day. My hair was a tangled mess, and even getting out of bed was a struggle. Looking back, I only remember downing 6 or 7 bottles of alcohol last night. Under the bar's flickering neon lights, I vaguely caught sight of Jiang Minzhou, the one I loved but couldn't have. The one who occupied my thoughts day and night. The moment Jiang Minzhou crossed my mind, I didn't even bother putting on shoes. Frantically, I stumbled out of bed and ran barefoot to the living room, grabbing a bewildered Ma Jiao and shouting, "Babe, I think I kissed my crush last night." Babe. Ma Jiao had been working on her thesis lately and was now slumped exhaustedly on the sofa. After I cornered her, she managed to force a polite smile. "No crush. Last night, you just forced a kiss on a handsome stranger." Ma Jiao adjusted her glasses and, with a mind tortured by her thesis, vividly recounted how I had downed 7 bottles of strong liquor the night before. And finally, how I had rushed up to that innocent stranger and acted like a hooligan. I was shattered. My toes curled so hard they could have dug out a castle from the floor. With a final wail, I threw myself onto the sofa and buried my face in a cushion. Ma Jiao said this was what they called social suicide. She also told me not to worry, the world is vast, and we were just ships passing in the night. We'd definitely never meet again. I believed her, and then I ran into him again. I don't want to live anymore. On the day Jiang Minzhou announced his relationship, Ma Jiao went to the city library. I sat alone on the carpet, holding my phone, unlocking it and turning it off again and again. On the screen was Jiang Minzhou's latest WeChat Moments post. The caption read, "This person keeps stealing my earphones," accompanied by a photo of their intertwined hands. I could clearly tell which hand was Jiang Minzhou's, and I knew I should give it a like and offer my blessings. A somewhat famous band's lead singer falls in love with one of his fans. It sounds like a fairy tale. But I did nothing. I sat on the carpet from morning till afternoon, feeling my stomach go from slightly aching to cramping painfully. In the end, Ma Jiao came home and seeing I wasn't doing well, half carried, half dragged me into a taxi to the hospital. In the taxi, I covered my face, trying to calm down. Ma Jiao blurted out, "Don't hold it in." I saw the WeChat Moments too. So I broke down completely, clinging to Ma Jiao and crying so hard I blew snot bubbles. I've liked Jiang Minzhou since the first time he performed with his band on the university playground. I went from being a listener to his friend, from his friend to his best friend, and ultimately stopped at the words best friend. Ma Jiao rubbed my stomach while wiping my tears with tissues. It wasn't until we got out of the taxi that I finally managed to stop crying, clutching my stomach as we entered the hospital. Fortunately, the hospital wasn't crowded. After waiting just a short while, I saw the doctor. His white coat was neatly buttoned, and a mask covered most of his face, revealing only a pair of bright eyes. "There are signs of fever, likely appendicitis. From what I can see, it's quite severe," the doctor said calmly, gently pressing around my navel. "Doctor, can medication fix it?" I leaned against Ma Jiao, asking weakly. If medication could solve it, I absolutely didn't want surgery. That was my last stubborn stand. "Go for an ultrasound first." The doctor scribbled something on a form and told Ma Jiao to take me for the scan. I glanced at his name tag, which clearly read Jian Xing. "Dr. Jian," I pressed on, unwilling to give up. What if the ultrasound doesn't look good? Then surgery. Yikes. I sucked in a sharp breath. The doctor's voice was so calm, as if he'd seen it all, making me feel like a piece of emotionless meat on a butcher's counter. I pursed my lips, deeply feeling the unpredictability of life, and nearly burst into tears again. Maybe the sight of me clinging to Ma Xiao, trying desperately to stand up, was too comical. Dr. Jian actually reached out to support me and added, Yuan, right? If you need surgery, I'll be the one operating. For some reason, despite his matter-of-fact tone, I felt an inexplicable chill run down my spine. I met the doctor's gaze and suddenly felt a sense of familiarity. Ma Xiao helped me out of the room. Leaning on her shoulder, I quietly asked if she thought Dr. Jian seemed a bit strange. A little strangely handsome. I'm being serious. He really is strangely handsome, though. Even with the mask, look at his eyes and brows, totally aluka. I took a deep breath and decided not to waste any more words on Ma Xiao. Getting that ultrasound to save my life was more important. Ma Xiao matched my pace as we walked through the hospital's antiseptic smell. I was focused on walking when Ma Xiao suddenly stopped. I bumped into her shoulder and nearly toppled over backward. What are you doing? I know why that doctor seemed strange. Ma Xiao squeezed my hand, but her eyes were glued to the staff directory hanging on the wall. I followed her gaze and saw Jianxing's photo and profile in the second row. Attending physician, young and accomplished, not bad-looking, definitely strangely handsome. I glanced at Jianxing's ID photo and nodded hastily. So shouldn't we go for the ultrasound? With a patient like me right here, you're still checking out handsome guys. So shallow. If it were just any handsome guy, I wouldn't care. Ma Xiao looked back at me, her eyes suddenly gleaming with intense curiosity. But if it's the handsome guy you forced a kiss on, now that's interesting. Holy. In just one day I'd experienced Zhang Minzhou's relationship announcement, a suspected acute appendicitis, crying snot bubbles, and now Ma Xiao telling me that my future surgeon, Jianxing, was the man I'd mistaken for Zhang Minzhou and forcibly kissed at the bar. Heaven wants me dead. Say what you will, but Jianxing really knows his stuff. He said I had appendicitis, and sure enough I did. I was admitted to the hospital. While the nurse inserted an IV into my hand, she went over the preoperative preparations. Seeing how listless I was and how many blows I'd suffered, Ma Xiao pitied me and bustled about, paying my fees before heading to the cafeteria to get me something to eat. Lying flat on the hospital bed, I watched the nurse insert the needle and hang the forebag. After staring blankly for a while, I tentatively asked, Dear Florence Nightingale, is my attending physician Dr. Jianxing? The nurse was taken aback by my question, then chuckled lightly and said, Yes, it's him. Don't worry, Dr. Jian may be young, but he's very skilled. My flesh smiled dryly in agreement, while my soul had already skillfully dug out a moving castle from the floor. You seem nervous. The nurse deftly adjusted the foredrip. Dr. Jian has seemed a bit low lately, but don't worry, he's very professional. Has Dr. Jian been in a bad mood recently? I clutched the blanket, probing further. Well, sort of. I heard he was harassed by some female hooligan outside a few days ago. Perhaps because I looked utterly harmless, the nurse lowered her voice and secretly shared this gossip with me, begging for hugs from Jianxing. Damn, he definitely recognized me. I burrowed into the blanket like an ostrich, my mind flashing with images of the bar's flickering seductive lights and Jianxing's deep, cool eyes. Some people may still be alive, but they've outlived their social usefulness. Ma Xiao brought me a bowl of porridge and told me she'd already requested sick leave for me. My work at the magazine had been temporarily handed over to 2 other colleagues. I nodded, then stared at the steaming white porridge for a moment before suddenly looking up and asking Ma Xiao, Do you think if I go apologize to Dr. Jian now, he'd forgive me? Apologize? Ma Xiao pulled over a chair and sat by my bed. My dear editor G, apologizing 5 days later, isn't that a bit late? Besides, when someone was carried out of the bar by Dr. Jian, they were still shouting about how their feelings for him were as clear as heaven and earth. Heaven knows, that was just a line I'd picked up from a cheesy time travel drama. And those words were what I, in my drunken stupor, wanted to say to Zhang Minzhou. Over a week ago, while I was at home reviewing important articles for the magazine, Zhang Minzhou suddenly sent me a message. He said, Yuan, I've fallen in love at first sight with a girl. That day he had taken his band to perform at a music festival as guests. Unexpectedly, among the volunteers, he met someone who caught his eye instantly. Jiang Minzhou even sent me a side profile photo of the girl. She had shoulder-length hair, a delicate nose and cherry lips, wearing Bluetooth earphones. A strange blend of boyish and girlish charm made her unforgettable. Jiang Minzhou said her name was Qiao Yi. He also said he was going to pursue her. I suddenly felt lost. In my heart, Jiang Minzhou was always passionate and dazzling. He could impulsively go backpacking for 3 months, or ride a bicycle solo to Tibet. He could form a band to chase his dreams, or refuse to compromise when his company wanted to disband the band and promote him alone, opting to terminate his contract instead. I loved this fiery side of Jiang Minzhou. So even though I knew he didn't like girls who lived as conventionally as I did, I was content to stay by his side as a friend. Over the years, I almost thought we could keep going like this forever. But he fell in love at first sight with Qiao Yi, who resonated with his soul. Aside from offering my blessings, I had no reason or right to say anything else. After reading Jiang Minzhou's message, I unusually didn't reply immediately. Instead, I put down my phone and sat in silence for a long time. Later, I asked Majak Xiao what to do when you're sad. Majak Xiao said when you're sad, sleep it off. I asked her what to do if you can't sleep. Majak Xiao said then get drunk. So one heartbroken person with unrequited love, and another heartbroken person with a 50% plagiarism rate on her thesis, went hand in hand to a newly opened bar nearby. But I'd severely overestimated my alcohol tolerance. After a few bottles, I didn't even know who I was anymore. The one and only time in my life I drunkenly mustered the courage to speak my heart. I mistook the person and ended up acting like a hooligan. Just thinking about it made me sigh. Majak Xiao scouted around for me and found that Jianxing was extremely busy. The only time he entered my ward was to check on the patient in the next bed. As he was about to leave, Jianxing told Majak Xiao to take me for a blood test the next morning. While they talked, I lay stiffly under the covers, pretending to be dead. Maybe my motionless state looked too odd. Jianxing glanced at me and actually stopped leaving. Instead, he walked over to my bed and asked if I was still in a lot of pain. The sudden concern nearly made me bite my tongue. I forced a sheepish smile and said, "It doesn't hurt as much now. Thank you, Dr. Jian. If all goes well, your surgery is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. I'll be the one operating." He was standing quite close, so I could clearly see him raise an eyebrow slightly when he said operating. I swallowed hard and flattered, "Hey, I naturally trust Dr. Jian's skills." Whenever our eyes met, I became so guilty that I started stammering. "Glad to hear you trust me." Jianxing slipped both hands into the pockets of his white coat. His tone relaxed and casual. I quietly let out a sigh of relief, thinking Jianxing was about to leave when he suddenly leaned in closer. Jianxing had a faint scent of laundry detergent on him, mixed with the smell of antiseptic, swirling between us and making me a bit dazed. This time, he was even closer than when he'd helped me up earlier. So close I could hear his breathing. "Don't move." There was a hint of huskiness in Jianxing's voice. He told me not to move, and like a fool, I froze on the bed, watching as he reached out. His slightly cool fingers brushed against my cheek, tucking a stray strand of hair behind my ear. His touch felt electric, inexplicably numbing half my body. This was teasing, blatant teasing. When I came back to my senses, I sucked in a sharp breath and dodged to the side, avoiding his hand. "Do I scare you?" Jianxing straightened up and looked at me innocently. His hand hung in mid-air, his thumb and forefinger pinching something small and white. That was a grain of rice stuck in my hair. Ma Jiaoxiao, who had been silent beside us, was now trembling with suppressed laughter. Looking at the grain of rice on Jianxing's fingertip, I couldn't control the twitching at the corners of my mouth and eyes. So what if it's social suicide? A few more times and you get used to it. No, not scary at all. I overreacted. "Thank you, Dr. Jian. Good to hear I'm not scary." Jianxing tossed the grain of rice from my hair into the trash and added, "I'm quite skilled at stitching incisions. Since we're old acquaintances, I'll do my best to make yours look nice." Old acquaintances. Thanks a lot. How could such a clear, pleasant voice say something so utterly devastating? I forced a pained, standard fake smile that looked worse than crying. Jianxing gently patted my shoulder. If I wasn't mistaken, he was smiling too. Even though the mask covered most of his face, the suppressed laughter still spilled from his eyes. I was like a pet trapped in his territory, flailing about but ultimately at his mercy. My attending physician has a grudge against me, but you can't blame him, because I'm the one who wronged him first. After I was admitted to the hospital, Ma Jiaxiao came along to keep me company. Since I graduated and started renting a place, Ma Jiaxiao has been my roommate. Over the years, we've dragged each other down and supported each other's regressions, forging a firm friendship akin to partners in mischief. While I lay in the hospital bed, Ma Xiaoxiao hunched over her laptop, revising her thesis. Before I entered the operating room, she sat on a chair in the hallway outside, still revising her thesis. When I woke up from anesthesia, she finally put down her laptop, leaned over, and asked me how I felt. Not too bad. Maybe the anesthesia hadn't fully worn off yet. I de-slept so deeply that even after waking up, I didn't feel much pain. Instead, I wanted to see if Jianxing had stitched my incision as nicely as he'd promised. If it doesn't hurt, then you'd better prepare yourself. Prepare for what? Jiang Minzhou just called. He heard you were on sick leave, asked which hospital you were in, and said he's coming to see you right away. What? I raised my head, eyes wide as I stared at Ma Jiaxiao. Ma Jiaxiao shrugged, signaling that I should fend for myself. The wound didn't hurt much, but my heart ached. Jiang Minzhou arrived quickly. Before I could even steady my emotions, he showed up at my ward holding a fruit basket in one hand and holding his girlfriend's hand with the other. What a lovely surprise. I forced a smile and politely invited them to sit down. I looked at Qiao Yi and found she was also looking at me. Our eyes met, both of us wearing insincere smiles. I heard appendectomy recovery can be painful. Are you feeling all right, Miss Ji? Qiao Yi's voice was crisp and clear, like a flowing stream. Yuan will be fine. Haven't I told you? She's like a real-life Doraemon, she'd definitely be okay. Before I could even speak, Jiang Minzhou answered cheerfully on my behalf, then turned to me and asked, "Right, Brother Yuan? It really doesn't hurt much." My facial muscles were so stiff from smiling that I hardly cared whether the surgical wound hurt or not. Jiang Minzhou sat by my bed, chatting and laughing, telling me his band was preparing new songs. As he said this, he even leaned close to show me the lyrics and music on his phone, with no intention of avoiding suspicion. Jiang Minzhou told Qiao Yi I was his most loyal listener since university. I hadn't missed a single one of his songs and remembered the lyrics and melodies even better than he did. Jiang Minzhou considered this a sign of a good friendship. As for whether Qiao Yi felt the same way, I was too embarrassed to guess. I subtly shifted, trying to put some distance between Jiang Minzhou and me, but accidentally tugged at the wound as the anesthesia wore off. Grimacing in pain, I glanced at Ma Jiaxiao for help. Ma Jiaxiao frowned, looking helpless. When I shot her another pleading look, she simply slipped out of the ward. Jiang Minzhou was still chattering away about the inspiration behind his new songs. I stole a glance at Qiao Yi and met her scrutinizing gaze. Our eyes met, and she smiled faintly before lowering her head to fiddle with her earphones. I couldn't focus on Jiang Minzhou's words at all. I just hoped he'd finish soon. But as luck would have it, he had 3 or 4 new songs this time, and just explaining the inspiration would probably take half an hour. So I took a deep breath and interrupted him. Jiang Minzhou, I'm still a patient. Huh? What's wrong? Jiang Minzhou put down his phone and asked, "Did I bump your wound?" No, I mean, patients usually need to rest. I could only hint this much. I hope you take the hint. Jiang Minzhou looked confused, and after a long pause, he still didn't seem to get it. This was the first time I'd ever interrupted him while he was talking about his music. Seeing Jiang Minzhou's stunned expression, I pursed my lips and said nothing more. "Excuse me, sir." It was Jianxing's sudden appearance that broke the silence among the 3 of us. Dressed in a white coat and wearing his name tag, Jianxing held absolute authority in the ward. As soon as he spoke, Jiang Minzhou and Qiao Yi stood up to make way for him. "Dr. Jian." I felt like I'd seen a savior. Forgetting that I'd once teased Jianxing, he now seemed like a living bodhisattva with a halo over his head. Jiang Min walked past the others, bent over my bedside to feel my forehead, and after confirming my temperature was normal, withdrew his hand. I was a bit busy today, and only now have time to check on you. You won't blame me, will you? I couldn't help but make the old man on the subway looking at his phone face. Jianxing, who supposedly had a grudge against me, had not only appeared suddenly and intimately rescued me from an awkward situation, but had also issued a dismissal on my behalf. Zhao Yuan just had surgery and needs plenty of rest. If you've finished your visit, I suggest you leave now. Neither humble nor arrogant, his smile concealed a knife. Though Jianxing and Jiang Minzhou were about the same height, with the white coat adding to his presence, he seemed to overshadow Jiang Minzhou. Zhao Yuan? Jiang Minzhou's expression froze. His gaze shifted between Jianxing and me before he finally asked me, "So you two are close?" You could say that. In a way, Jianxing and I were indeed quite familiar. If kissing and hugging can define a relationship, then I should be Zhao Yuan's boyfriend. Jianxing, standing with his back to me, took the initiative to finish my sentence. With a snap, the halo over Jianxing's head as a living bodhisattva shattered in my heart. After Jianxing dismissed them, Jiang Minzhou and Qiao Yi left. Before leaving, Jiang Minzhou asked me with extreme uncertainty, "Yuan, are you really in a relationship?" Under Qiao Yi's silent gaze, I flushed with embarrassment, closed my mouth, and didn't answer, essentially admitting it by default. Jianxing seemed to have saved me from an awkward situation, but he also seemed to have set a bigger trap for me. As he tucked my blanket in, I looked at the stray lock of hair sticking up on his forehead and couldn't help saying, "Dr. Jian, thank you for saving me, but was what I said wrong?" Before I could finish, Jianxing interrupted me. "Do you think it was right? You did kiss me, hug me, and even got me teased by my colleagues for days. I was at fault, I brought it upon myself. It was a misunderstanding and I'm sorry." I spoke from the heart, genuinely apologetic. "No need to apologize, but I've been thinking for days and still can't figure it out. Why didn't you call me? Did you plan to kiss me and then pretend it never happened?" "Call you? What call? The hospital's number?" I was completely confused. "Didn't you check your clothes pockets after getting back from the bar?" Jianxing paused, then suddenly chuckled, leaving me even more bewildered. "No, I didn't. I'd stuffed all my clothes into the washing machine without a second thought. They were now hanging on the balcony, dancing in the wind." Jianxing seemed to want to say more, but a nurse called his name from the doorway, sounding urgent. Jianxing quickly responded, then turned to me and said, "I'm really busy today, so Editor G, rest well. I'll come see you when I'm free." Before I could finish speaking, Jianxing hurried out of the ward. Watching his retreating figure, I asked softly in confusion, "How did you know I'm an editor?" Jianxing's affectionate attitude made me wonder if my anesthesia had somehow been injected into his brain, making him so inexplicably attentive to me. Ma Xiao was shocked by Jiang Minzhou bringing Qiao Yi to visit me. Seeing how awkward I was, she slipped away midway to find a doctor to rescue me. Little did she know that Jianxing would come out with such bold claims, directly labeling this perpetually single girl as his girlfriend. Even the patient in the next bed came over to ask about the hospital's doctor salaries, saying that, as a doctor's family member, I must know the inside scoop. She clicked her tongue a few times, looking gossipy, and wondered if Jianxing had fallen for me at first sight. "Impossible," I denied flatly. Who would fall in love at first sight with a drunken mess at a bar? At most, Jianxing was just trying to get back at me for teasing him once. I denied it firmly, so Ma Xiao didn't press further. Instead, she asked, "What about Jiang Minzhou? He's already in a relationship, but from what I can tell, he doesn't seem to be trying to avoid suspicion with you at all." Thinking back to Qiao Yi's gaze earlier, I suddenly felt speechless. Qiao Yi clearly already saw me as a potential rival. If Jiang Minzhou remained oblivious, and I didn't keep my distance, it would truly be a tragedy. "Hey, what are you thinking about?" Ma Xiao waved her hand in front of my eyes. "Are you still holding on to hope for Jiang Minzhou? It's not that easy to give up." I sighed and forced a bitter smile. "I'll just avoid him for now. With some distance, I'll probably get over it slowly." Suddenly, I felt grateful that I'd mistaken the person that night. If I'd actually confessed to Jiang Minzhou while he was pursuing Qiao Yi, Ma Xiao also sighed deeply. telling me that heartbreak is hard to heal and that I should focus on recovering first. Then suddenly remembered what Jianxing had said earlier, and quickly asked Ma Xiao, "Did you tell Jianxing I'm an editor?" "No. Why would I mention that? What's up?" So she didn't tell him. Then how did he know? The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. Eventually I decided to drop it. As Ma Xiao said, I should focus on healing my broken heart first. But both Ma Xiao and I were wrong. Heartbreak wasn't the most painful thing. The most painful was the surgical wound, especially after the anesthesia wore off. Even though I'd been given painkillers, the pain still contorted my face. Ma Xiao held my hand and told me to bear it a little longer. It would pass. Bear what? I'm not giving birth here. But you still have to endure it. Ma Xiao freed one hand to open her phone, swiped a few times and added, "Wait, I searched on Jihu. And everyone says appendectomy pain is manageable. Thanks for asking, but I feel like I'm dying. Everyone's pain threshold is different. She feels pain because hers is too low." Jianxing really did come to see me again. He must have finished his shift. He'd taken off his white coat, and, upon hearing my Yaxiu's words, walked over to my bed to explain. Jianxing wasn't old to begin with, and without the white coat, he looked even younger. Like a fresh-faced college student. He wasn't shy either. He pulled up a chair and sat down, then comforted me, saying, "Just bear it a little longer. The painkillers will kick in soon." Ma Xiao's gaze shifted between Jianxing and me, before she actually let go of my hand and moved aside to make room for him. I glared at Ma Xiao, but Jianxing gave her an innocent smile. "You must be tired these past few days. Why don't you go home and rest? I'll keep an eye on things here." Ma Xiao never had any resistance to suggestions from handsome guys, especially ones who came with potential gossip. So she quickly grabbed her bag, waved at me, said she'd come back to keep me company in the evening, and slipped out. I didn't even have time to stop her. Jianxing and I stared at each other. After a moment, I decided to close my eyes and pretend to be asleep, but I hadn't even kept my eyes closed for long when I felt something cool on my lips. Opening my eyes, I saw Jianxing using a cotton swab dipped in water to moisten my lips. It's best not to drink water within 24 hours after surgery. This is just to prevent your lips from drying out. Thank you. I licked my lips awkwardly. Jianxing tidied up the items on the bedside table and gave me a faintly amused look. A wave of sadness washed over me, and strangely the pain didn't feel as intense anymore. In this awkward atmosphere, I casually asked Jianxing how he knew I was an editor. "We met not long ago." Not long ago? I tried to recall, but aside from the bar, I had no other memories. "A while back, the magazine you work for interviewed my cousin. I took her there, and you were there that day too. The only interview I'd attended recently was the one with Jian Ziming." "You're Jian Ziming's cousin?" I couldn't help exclaiming, only lowering my voice when he urgently signaled that we were in a hospital. Jianxing nodded. My mind was blown. Jian Ziming was a recently popular travel blogger who gained attention 4 or 5 times in a month with her unconventional, bold style and creative travel photography. Around that time, the magazine I edited was planning a new column and invited Jian Ziming for an interview. Normally, I wouldn't need to attend such interviews, but I really liked Jian Ziming's style. Coincidentally, I had nothing else to do on the day of the interview, so I went along with my colleagues. That day, Jian Ziming, with her confident and vibrant orange hair, chatted away animatedly. I stood not far away, watching through the glass wall. I also ended up having a great conversation with someone else that day. I started talking to him about her. We hit it off and ended up chatting about everything from travel to sculpture, fitness to cooking. By the time the interview ended, we hurriedly parted ways without even exchanging contact information. Later, I praised Jian Ziming to others, saying she was truly talented and even the people around her were impressive. Looking at the clean-cut Jianxing in front of me, then thinking back to that person's striking blue hair, they couldn't be more different. You were the one I chatted with that day?" "Yes, that was me." "But your hair. I remember not long ago, it wasn't this color." "Not long ago, his hair was a vibrant blue." Jianxing cleared his throat, paused and explained. Jian Ziming thought I looked too ordinary and was afraid I'd embarrass her, so she made me wear a wig. So Jian Xing had his own embarrassing moments too. I couldn't hold back a laugh. I was forced into it. My mom insisted I take Jian Ziming there. Jian Xing's feeble explanation wasn't very convincing, but I politely stopped laughing anyway. Since being hospitalized, this was the first time I'd had such a calm conversation with Jian Xing. It wasn't tea until Ma Xiao returned to the hospital. After packing her things that I realized Jian Xing had been with me for over 3 hours. Once Ma Xiao was back, Jian Xing didn't linger. He stood up to leave but first took a few tubes of ointment from his pocket and placed them on the bedside table. Scar removal ointment. It works well. You might need it later. Thank you. I gave him a grateful smile. Ma Xiao leaned against the wall, watching the suddenly harmonious vibe between Jian Xing and me. She stared in disbelief as Jian Xing left before turning to me and saying, "You too lost your minds." If I didn't explain clearly, Ma Xiao, with her determination to get to the bottom of any gossip, might be the one losing her mind tonight. So I patted the edge of the bed, signaling her to come sit so I could explain everything. Ma Xiao obediently came over, looking as if she was already holding a bucket of popcorn. But before I could finish explaining, Jian Xing, who had just left, rushed back in and suddenly stopped at the doorway. The three of us looked at each other, momentarily confused about what was happening. Jian Xing stood at the door, staring into my eyes, and suddenly spoke as if he'd made up his mind. "Your appendix was sent for routine pathology." "Oh? Okay, sure." I nodded, not quite understanding. "The weather is nice today." "Yeah, it is. But what did that have to do with me? Lying in a hospital bed all day. The moonlight outside is beautiful too." My brain suddenly froze. Such stumbling, disjointed words usually led to either a confession or a debt collection. So what exactly did Jian Xing want? Jian Xing and I remained locked in a standoff until Ma Xiao, unable to bear it any longer, spoke up for me. "Dr. Jian, what exactly are you trying to say?" Ma Xiao asked directly. I saw Jian Xing's Adam's apple bob as he said to me, I actually have a favor to ask." Jian Xing's eyes were full of hope and sincerity. "Your appendix was perforated and its shape is quite unique. I think it has some research value. If the routine pathology results are fine, could I preserve it as a specimen and store it in the hospital's biobank?" "Do as you please." "Great. Then I'll see you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow." "Goodbye then." I stayed in the hospital for a week, and both Jian Xing and I tacitly avoided mentioning the bar incident. After being discharged, I returned to my busy, dog-tired working life. Since meeting Zhang Minzhou at the hospital, the number of times I'd chatted with him could be counted on one hand. Occasionally, when I scrolled past his WeChat moments, I didn't dare look closely. I just hurried past. I was afraid that the flame in my heart, which had finally started to die down, would reignite. Compared to Zhang Minzhou, the number of conversations I had with Jian Xing visibly increased. Jian Xing's work wasn't easy either, and his home was quite far from my rented apartment. After being discharged, I'd only met him twice. He occasionally sent me strange things via same-day delivery, oddly shaped sculptures, ceramics, and some plant specimens he'd made himself. This uneventful life continued for about 10 days, until it was disrupted by Zhang Minzhou's invitation to a music festival. The stage had always been his domain. Zhang Minzhou said he was the opening act for this music festival and insisted I come. I stared at the word "insisted" for a long time, then replied that I couldn't get tickets. I wanted to politely decline, but he sent me 2 tickets and added that I should bring my boyfriend at the beginning of next month. Not going would mean not giving face to an old friend. What a curse. I told Ma Xiao about it, wrapping my arms around her waist and asking if she could go to the music festival with me. "No way, these are tickets for your boyfriend. Besides, I'm really not interested in this kind of music festival." Ma Xiao crunched on potato chips. "Why don't you ask Dr. Jian to go with you? Human joys and sorrows aren't shared." Ma Xiao just wanted to enjoy the drama. Ma Xiao firmly believed there was something ambiguous between Jian Xing and me. We tussled on the sofa until I heard my phone ring. Picking it up, I saw it was Jian Xing calling. Under Ma Xiao's meaningful gaze, I answered the call. Jian Xing asked if we could have a meal together tomorrow. His voice sounded low, more than anything, tired. I heard it was unusually quiet on the other end, not like he was at the hospital or driving. "What's wrong? Where are you?" I asked. "In my car, about to drive home." Jianxing let out a bitter laugh and continued. "It's nothing major. I just got slapped by a patient's family member today." "What? You got hit?" I raised my voice, startling Ma Xiaoxiao beside me. "It's fine, just a minor injury. But since I'm hurt, Editor Ji, could you do me the honor of letting me treat you to a meal tomorrow?" Jianxing remained calm, even joking with me. "No, you're the injured one. Let me treat you. You pick the place, I'll pay." I was furious about what happened. After hanging up, I saw Ma Xiaoxiao looking at me with admiration. "Wow, you're paying. So domineering." I nudged Ma Xiaoxiao with my elbow to get her to act normal, then bent down to pull out the scar removal ointment Jianxing had given me from the drawer under the coffee table. I've been too busy these past few days to remember to apply it. When I finally opened a tube, I found a note inside. The handwriting was elegant and neat, highlighting the usage instructions and precautions. "Whoa! Dr. Jian wrote this." Ma Xiaoxiao leaned in to look, then quickly opened another tube. It contained a similar note. "No way. He was worried you wouldn't read the instructions. So he handwritten the key points for you." I had almost opened the tube and started applying the ointment without even thinking to check the instructions. It was just an ointment, it didn't seem necessary to be so meticulous. But Jianxing had been meticulous anyway. That night, I fell asleep to the sound of Ma Xiaoxiao endlessly whispering, "I'm shipping it. I'm shipping it." After work the next day, I went to meet Jianxing at the location he'd sent. He'd booked a table by the window. As soon as I sat down, I saw the scratches on his right cheek. 3 clear scratch marks stood out starkly on his face. Evidence of how hard that slap must have been. How could someone do that? There's no reason to hit a doctor. Looking at Jianxing's injury, I couldn't help complaining. The family was anxious, and communication didn't go smoothly. But it's fine, just minor injuries. I'd never seen Jianxing lose his temper. His tolerance seemed to have always been this strong. But doctors are human too. There's no reason to get hit while trying to save lives. My sympathy for Jianxing transformed into a desire to spend. I ordered a large table of food, claiming I needed to nourish his body. Since I was treating Jianxing to the meal, he seemed genuinely uncomfortable and insisted on driving me home, even escorting me into the elevator and to my doorstep. So hesitantly, I asked if he wanted to come inside. It wasn't that I was being stingy. It's just that my and Ma Xiaoxiao's place was a mess. "No. You're sharing the apartment. It wouldn't be appropriate for me to come in." Jianxing smiled and shook his head, so I took out my keys to unlock the door. Just as the key was about to go into the lock, Jianxing suddenly grabbed my arm. I slipped and nearly fell into his arms. What's wrong?" My back pressed against the wall, startled by Jianxing's sudden move. I just saw a milk tea shop downstairs with a banner saying, "Buy 2, get 30% off. Do you want some?" "No, I'm pretty full from today's meal. Your door looks nice." Another string of confusing statements. Without Ma Xiaoxiao here, I had to ask myself. So, gripping the strap of my bag tightly, I asked, "You're not planning to use my organs for specimens again, are you?" "My other organs are perfectly healthy, and I was wondering if you'd be willing to be with me. If you're not ready to answer, I can keep pursuing you." "Keep pursuing?" My brain felt like a jammed cassette tape. "Are you saying you've been pursuing me all this time? Wasn't it obvious?" Jianxing looked even more surprised than I was. "Actually, after we first chatted and parted, I thought about looking for you. I asked GM Ziming, and she'd heard rumors about you and Zhang Minzhou. I thought you were already together, so I didn't want to bother you. What happened later? I guess it was fate. Later, I caused a scene at the bar, throwing myself at him. Zhang Minzhou announced his official girlfriend, and I ended up in Jianxing's hands again." Seeing I hadn't spoken for a while, Jianxing continued. "Before you, the only thing that fascinated me in this world was medicine. I can't deny it, I've developed feelings for you. I'm not great at chatting with people, but with you, I always have endless things to say. These feelings started from our first meeting and have lasted until now. And I have a feeling they'll only grow stronger until my heart stops beating. I stared into Jianxing's eyes for a long time, trying to see if he was drunk. But his gaze was clear, with no sign of intoxication. My reason told me I should refuse, that my speech organs seemed to malfunction. I couldn't utter a single word. Click, the tightly shut door suddenly opened. Ma Xiaoxiao walked out carrying a bag of trash. Turning her head, she saw me leaning against the wall with Jianxing standing in front of me, his shadow enveloping me completely. I saw Ma Xiaoxiao's eyes widen first, then her mouth dropped open. Just as she was about to shout, "I ship," I rushed over, covering her mouth and forcefully cutting off the words, "I ship it," before they could escape. With one hand covering Ma Xiaoxiao's mouth, and the other gripping her arm, I dragged her inside. While tangled up with Ma Xiaoxiao, my mind was a complete mess, unsure how to respond to Jianxing. In the end, it was Jianxing who gave me an out, telling me I didn't need to answer right away. He had time to wait for me to figure it out. I nodded dumbly. Jianxing said goodbye and even took the trash bag from Ma Xiaoxiao's hand on his way out. Once the door closed, Ma Xiaoxiao forcefully pried my hand off her mouth, gasped for air and shouted at me, "You ship it." I placed my bag on the shoe cabinet, cutting her off. "That's what you were going to say, right?" "No, I actually wanted to say I ship it for real." When it came to linguistic artistry, Ma Xiaoxiao never disappointed. Amid Ma Xiaoxiao's enthusiastic questioning, I covered my ears and fled to my bedroom. I told Ma Xiaoxiao I was tired and needed to sleep first. Ma Xiaoxiao said tired or not, I should still focus on matters of the heart. So she followed me into the bedroom and crawled under the covers with me. Truthfully, I wasn't sleepy. I was just too full. Both my stomach and my mind were in turmoil, making it impossible to sleep. Ma Xiaoxiao wasn't sleepy either. She energetically asked me what had happened. Jianxing suddenly confessed to me. "Wow, so what do you think?" Ma Xiaoxiao snuggled closer and wrapped her arms around my waist. I didn't know how to answer him, so I played the ostrich. Not refusing means you're somewhat interested, right? I think you two are a good match. Look, before, when you chatted with Jiang Minzhou, it was only about music and bands. You always went along with whatever he said. But with Dr. Jian, you have so much to talk about. Your conversations cover all sorts of topics. The saying, "those involved are blind, while onlookers see clearly," might actually be true. It seemed I really was starting to like Jianxing, but I also hadn't completely let go of Jiang Minzhou. So I was confused. Under Ma Xiaoxiao's eager gaze, I ruffled her hair and told her there was chocolate in my bag, bought especially for her. Her eyes lit up, and she left my bedroom, closing the door behind her so I could get some sleep. I stared at the ceiling for a long time, then took out my phone, wanting to send Jianxing a message. I wanted to tell him I couldn't accept his confession because there was still someone else in my heart. It wouldn't be fair. That Jianxing always seemed to be one step ahead of me. As soon as I opened my phone, I saw a WeChat message from him. "Zhao Yuan, I have to go to another province for a 2-week training program. I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm worried that distance might make our relationship grow distant. And I'm also afraid you might meet someone else who catches your heart during this time." Before I've even had the chance to say what's on my mind. To avoid missing you again, I chose to confess abruptly. "If I scared you, I'm sorry." I read this message several times, typing and deleting in the chat box repeatedly. By the time Jianxing sent a message saying he'd gotten home, I still hadn't managed to type out a complete response. Don't make decisions late at night. Late nights are for sleeping. If you must make a decision, please wait until I'm back to tell me. Good night. Jianxing gave me layer after layer of an out. Sitting on the steps he'd provided, I replied with a simple good night. The next day, Jianxing left with his colleagues. At noon, while eating lunch at the convenience store near my office, I received a photo from him. It was taken on the plane, showing thick layered clouds. Jianxing said he'd just landed and was heading to the hotel. I raised my phone, took a photo of my bento box and sent it to him. In return, I received a thank you from Jianxing. Thank you for what? Thank you for being willing to share your life with me. After reading the message, I put down my chopsticks and rubbed my face vigorously. My face felt strangely warm because of Jianxing's words. How bizarre. On the 4th day after Jianxing left, I received a large package. At first, I thought it was from Jianxing, but upon opening it, I realized it was a custom bass guitar I'd ordered earlier. Ki Ming, the bassist of Zhang Minzhou's band, was his college roommate. I'd known him for as long as I'd known Zhang Minzhou. His birthday was in 2 days and I de-ordered this bass a while ago, but had forgotten about it due to recent busyness. I took a photo of the bass and sent it to Ki Ming, suggesting I send it via same-day delivery. Ki Ming replied quickly, saying he'd already booked a place. Not only did the gift have to come, but I had to come too. I knew Ki Ming's personality if I didn't go. He'd probably ride his scooter over and haul me there himself. So, on Ki Ming's birthday, I carried the bass to the place he'd booked. It was an open-air barbecue spot, entirely reserved by Ki Ming. The whole band was there. Those with partners brought them, and someone even brought their cat. But Qiao Yi wasn't there. I automatically blended into the crowd, grilling meat, keeping a considerable distance from Zhang Minzhou. Ki Ming sprinkled chili powder on the meat beside me, and quietly asked if I knew what was going on between Zhang Minzhou and Qiao Yi. I glanced at Ki Ming, confused, and asked him what he meant. "You don't know either?" Ki Ming looked surprised. "They've been giving each other the cold shoulder for days. I was hoping you might know the reason. Lately I really hadn't been paying much attention to Zhang Minzhou. Their relationship matters weren't my business. Although I deliberately avoided Zhang Minzhou, with Ki Ming around as the life of the party, the night wasn't too awkward. But when the gathering ended, Zhang Minzhou actually offered to take me home. No need, I can just take a taxi." This was almost the longest sentence I'd said to Zhang Minzhou all night. "That doctor didn't come pick you up? He's away on a business trip." Zhang Minzhou had his hands in his pockets. He asked a question I answered. The evening breeze blew and the conversation stalled. "You seem to have been avoiding me lately. Why? We're all adults. Work and life keep us busy. Not having time to maintain social connections isn't unusual." I fidgeted with my hair uncomfortably. I was used to seeing Zhang Minzhou carefree, so his sudden seriousness felt unfamiliar. "But I remember we used to chat happily, didn't we?" Zhang Minzhou's aggressive tone made me take a step back. We were happy, of course. How could we not be? Back then, no matter what Zhang Minzhou sent me, I'd make time to reply thoughtfully. I listened to all the music he liked, followed all the singers he admired. With that kind of chatting, of course he was happy. But lately I'd suddenly realized I was actually quite ordinary. Some of the avant-garde music Zhang Minzhou sent me, I didn't even understand. Trying to force myself to learn when I didn't get it could be exhausting. Maybe because I haven't been in the mood for music lately. I started liking other things, like sculpture and specimens. I adjusted my bag and gave Zhang Minzhou an apologetic smile. "I should head home. Bye." I turned my back to Zhang Minzhou and walked toward the roadside. Just as I was about to hail a taxi, I heard Zhang Minzhou say, "Qiao Yi and I broke up." "Huh?" I turned around in surprise. Zhang Minzhou is still standing there, and it didn't seem like a joke. "She's very unique, very special, but we're better suited as friends than lovers. So we broke up amicably." Zhang Minzhou shrugged and said he'd only told me so far. Watching Zhang Minzhou hesitate as he announced his breakup, my first thought was that Ma Xiao would love this gossip. "I hope you find the right person. Goodbye." A taxi happened to pull up beside me. After hurriedly comforting him with a couple of words, I got in. In the back seat, I took out my phone and messaged Jianxing, telling him the gathering was over. In less than half a minute, he called. I answered the phone to his steady voice. "Don't hang up. It's not safe for you to be alone in a taxi at night. Call me when you get home." "Okay." Jianxing chatted with me casually. Looking out the window at the bustling nightscape, I suddenly remembered Qiao Yi's face. A blend of stubbornness and softness. We'd only met once. I thought that would be the last time, but a few days later I saw her at my company. Qiao Yi seemed surprised to see me too, but greeted me and said she was there to interview for a magazine modeling gig. After her interview, Qiao Yi happened to catch me during my lunch break. We met in the elevator, exchanged smiles, and she greeted me, asking how my recovery was going. "Pretty good." Qiao Yi nodded and added, "Zhang Minzhou and I broke up." I heard. Qiao Yi didn't seem sad. The breakup didn't appear to affect her much. After we left the company building together, Qiao Yi suddenly invited me to a nearby dessert shop. Watching Qiao Yi order a bunch of signature cakes, I couldn't help asking if she wasn't afraid of gaining weight, since models typically look heavier on camera. Once in a while, I'll indulge. I can always work up a sweat later. Qiao Yi handed me a slice of cake and said, "This is their signature dessert. You should try it too." Seeing Qiao Yi's genuine smile now, I took the cake but only ate a couple of bites before setting it down. Noticing my hesitation, Qiao Yi explained she tends to gain weight easily, and since she doesn't enjoy exercising, she has to watch what she eats. "I think girls with baby faces like yours look cute even with a little extra weight. And you're already quite slim." Qiao Yi took a big bite of cake and added with a smile, "No wonder Zhang Minzhou likes you. You seem really gentle." Likes me? My heart skipped a beat. After we got together, things were great at first. But after visiting you at the hospital, he'd often find himself checking your Weibo and WeChat moments. When we chatted, he'd always bring up stories about you two from the past. Over time, he thought I was too unpredictable, and I felt his heart gradually drifting away. So we broke up. Seeing my stunned expression, Qiao Yi lightly tapped the edge of the table with her fork to snap me out of it. After a moment of thought, I told Qiao Yi that if the breakup was because of me, I was sorry. It's not your fault. Both of us have personalities that refuse to compromise. Over time, all sorts of issues surfaced. I admit I felt hostile toward you at first, but looking back, if anyone's to blame, it's Zhang Minzhou for not appreciating what he had until you started dating someone else. In Qiao Yi's eyes, I was actually the one best suited for Zhang Minzhou. Two strong-willed people weren't compatible, whereas I could accommodate Zhang Minzhou. I watched Qiao Yi finish her cake. Then she smiled and said goodbye, mentioning she had a photo shoot scheduled for the afternoon and needed to leave. "Zhang Minzhou doesn't like me." As Qiao Yi stood up, I finally said it. "What?" "He likes a mold. A mold that could shape his best friend, his most loyal audience, his most attentive listener. At first, love makes everything seem perfect." Zhang Minzhou liked Qiao Yi's uniqueness. But when two uncompromising people wear each other down in daily life, Zhang Minzhou would remember me, the one who molded myself into what he liked to chase after him. Qiao Yi paused, then flashed a bright smile. "Then I wish you and your doctor boyfriend lasting happiness. Oh, and I already paid the bill. Their cakes are really good, there's filling inside." Qiao Yi pointed at the cake in front of me, then turned and left the dessert shop. Through the large glass window, I watched Qiao Yi's carefree figure fade into the distance. Only when she was completely out of sight did I pick up the fork again and take a big bite of cake. Qiao Yi was right. There was filling inside. And the cake was delicious. I finished the cake, then sent a message to Jianxing, telling him I'd eaten a high-calorie dessert today. Jianxing said that since I liked it, he'd take me to eat it together when he returned. "Aren't you afraid I'll become fat? You know I'm a doctor. As long as you're healthy and happy, that's what matters." I turned off my phone, sat in the corner of the dessert shop, covered my face with my hands, and suddenly felt like crying. On the day Jianxing returned, I went to the airport. Amid the bustling crowd, I spotted him immediately, walking out with his colleagues, dragging his suitcase. I called his name and waved energetically. Jianxing heard me and quickly made his way over. "Why are you here?" As soon as Jianxing asked, I threw myself into a bear hug, mumbling into his shoulder. "To pick up my boyfriend." Jianxing stood stiffly in my embrace. I rested my head on his shoulder, feeling his body gradually relax. Then he hugged me back. Jianxing wrapped his arms around my waist and lifted me up briefly, my feet leaving the ground for a moment. Nearby, Jianxing's colleagues either watched with amusement or stared in shock. I patted his arm, telling him to put me down. Once he did, I stood half a step behind him, watching as he introduced me to his colleagues with a smile, his eyes crinkling. "This is my girlfriend." My hand was clasped in Jianxing's, his palm warm and steady. I'd never felt so at peace. This time, Ma Xiao could finally shout, "I ship it for real," without holding back. A lifelong singleton was now in a sweet relationship. The evidence? I even wanted to take a photo of a line of ants on the sidewalk to show Jianxing. So I opened my phone and told him I'd seen a line of moving ants. By lunch break, Jianxing had already sent another photo, telling me he'd seen a cloud that looked like an appendix today. Would this ever stop being a thing? I zoomed in on the photo and realized the cloud did resemble my appendix-turned specimen. I sighed, marveling at how the romance of a straight-laced science guy could be so exasperating. Jiang Minzhou was like an uncoated photograph over time. His traces in my life grew fainter. It wasn't until Qi Ming mentioned the music festival was approaching that I suddenly remembered Jiang Minzhou's earlier invitation. This time, not only did Jiang Minzhou invite me, but Qi Ming also insisted I go. Qi Ming said the day after the music festival was their band's 7th anniversary. Over the years, people had come and gone, and he hoped I'd be there. Jiang Minzhou did too. Beyond the music festival, Jiang Minzhou and I would have known each other for 7 years. During a walk, I mentioned this to Jianxing. He patted my head, checked his schedule, and asked me to save a ticket for him. I have surgery scheduled that day, but I should be able to make it after work. You go ahead, and I'll find you there. You don't mind? I glanced at Jianxing cautiously. 7 years, whether for friendship or anything else, is worth acknowledging. Besides, I'll be with you. Jianxing spoke openly. In his eyes, my feelings for Jiang Minzhou deserved an honest closure. I stopped walking, cupped Jianxing's face, stood on my tiptoes, and planted a loud kiss on his forehead. With a more, Jianxing's ears turned red. Really? Really? Some people seem so aloof, but a forehead kiss makes them blush. For a doctor, isn't the mouth just another body part? Do you want to drink? Huh? Drink what? When you're sober, you only kiss my forehead. On the day of the concert, I went to the venue as promised. Since that late-night farewell, I hadn't seen Jiang Minzhou again. He was busy preparing for the performance, and I intentionally kept my distance. Our chat history had remained unchanged for a long time, untouched. The 2-day music festival was packed, shoulder to shoulder. I drifted with the crowd, eventually stopping toward the back. Everyone was pushing forward. I stood on my toes and glanced ahead, a dense sea of people surging forward, leaving the back relatively empty. I found a spot to sit and received a call from Jianxing. He had just left the hospital and was driving over. But traffic was terrible, so it would take him a while. After hanging up, I waited idly at the edge of the crowd for the show to start. Jiang Minzhou's band was scheduled to perform first. When the sky darkened and the chatter around me turned into cheers and screams, I knew they had taken the stage. From where I was, I could barely see the stage, but the music cut through all the noise and reached my ears. Jiang Minzhou still sounded amazing. Under the dazzling lights, he seemed forever like that bold, unrestrained young man from the beginning. I heard him singing the band's first song from their early days. Back then, he sang freely on the playground, and I was hooked from the first sight. Now, the song seemed slightly rewritten, more polished, more mature. Jiang Minzhou sang 5 songs before Jianxing sent a message. Traffic was so bad he'd just reached the nearby area. By the time I replied, telling Jianxing to drive safely, Jiang Minzhou and his band had already left the stage. I took a photo and sent it to Qi Ming, letting him know I'd been there. But Qi Ming asked me to wait. He said Jiang Minzhou was looking for me. I took a deep breath, silently telling myself that some things needed to be said clearly, and shared my location. I found a spot far from the stage, nearly deserted, and waited for Jiang Minzhou. Jiang Minzhou had changed out of his performance clothes into casual wear, looking fresh and simple. "Congratulations," I said to him. "The performance was great. Did you hear the songs I sang?" Jiang Minzhou's breathing was slightly hurried. He glanced back at the crowd and said, "I sang the song that brought us together. Not just me, many people got to know you through that song. It's because you're talented." Yuan, that's not what I meant. Jiang Minzhou cut me off urgently. "When I chose that song, I was thinking of you." Jiang Minzhou said he wanted to sing that song for me. He said he thought you liked girls like Qiao Yi, but later realized that without me, his life had become a mess. He also said he liked me too, and wanted me to accept this confession, nearly 7 years late. As he spoke, Jiang Minzhou stared intently at me. The streetlight cast a slanted glow, throwing 2 shadows on the ground. "I'm sorry." I unconsciously clenched my hands and took half a step back. "I have a boyfriend and I love him." "That doctor? Yuan. Are you still lying to me?" I asked before his colleague said he's not in a relationship. You're just his patient. Jiang Minzhou stepped forward, his tone full of certainty. Knowing it was a lie, he specifically emphasized bringing my boyfriend to test me. Yes, I lied to you before, but I'm not lying now. I really am with him. My gaze met his. He pressed, and I refused to back down. And even if I was single now, must I say yes, just because you confessed? Jiang Minzhou was stunned by my words. He opened his mouth but made no sound. After a moment of silence, Jiang Minzhou continued. I thought after all this time, since we like each other, we'd be together. Why should we be together? I almost laughed. Jiang Minzhou, you actually knew I liked you before, right? But do you really like me? Do you remember what I usually like to eat or do for fun? Jiang Minzhou mumbled a vague response before falling silent again. He was well aware of my feelings but had never reciprocated. He was so certain I'd always be there for him. Only when Jianxing appeared did he become unsettled. That was the best answer. All these years I secretly liked you. I knew you liked slim girls, so I dieted and watched my weight. I knew you liked music, so I talked about music and your dreams with you. I kept trying to mold myself to your preferences, but I couldn't completely abandon myself. I'm a very ordinary person. I couldn't give up the job I love or my quiet life just to follow your lead and become exactly what you wanted. So I kept those feelings hidden. You just said you've come to like me, but Jiang Minzhou, you really just want someone who'll always have your back, who'll always listen to you. You don't like the real Yuan, you like the Yuan who was chasing after you. I said everything in one breath. It took me a long time to understand these truths, but fortunately it wasn't too late. Under the lights, Jiang Minzhou's face looked grey and weary. We stood only a step apart, yet it felt like years separated us. Do you really like that, doctor? Jiang Minzhou almost whispered the question. Yes. My answer was firm. The real Yuan, freed from that mold, truly liked Jianxing. Without warning, Jiang Minzhou gave a bitter smile and pointed behind me. Following his gesture, I looked back. Jianxing stood under a streetlight not far away, wearing a trench coat. I couldn't see his expression clearly, but I felt that the moment I turned around, he was smiling at me. So I couldn't help but smile too. My boyfriend is waiting for me. I should go, I said, turning to leave. I'm sorry. Jiang Minzhou remained where he was, half hidden in the shadows. I didn't know what he was apologizing for. Perhaps for this abrupt confession, or perhaps for the wasted time. No need to apologize. Having a friend as outstanding as you has made me happy. With a relieved wave to Jiang Minzhou, I turned and ran toward Jianxing. Jianxing was still standing there. As I approached, he opened his arms and wrapped me in a hug. When did you get here? Why didn't you say anything? I looked up at him. A little while ago. I saw you two talking and didn't want to interrupt. Jianxing bundled me in his trench coat like a wrapped dumpling. So you were spying? Is it spying if I'm looking at my own girlfriend? I stared at Jianxing's face without saying a word, watching him intently. He grew slightly uncomfortable under my gaze, shifting his neck gently and asking what was wrong. Are you jealous? Jianxing's face stiffened, and he didn't answer. You are jealous, aren't you? Jianxing remained stiff, perhaps pressed too hard, and finally admitted. All right, I'm a little jealous. After all, it's Jiang Minzhou. I raised an eyebrow and Jianxing added, jealous or not, I still trust you. Good, you should. I lifted my chin. Nothing happened, and now I'm announcing to the world that we're together. I pulled out my phone and quickly posted a photo of Jianxing and me, declaring him my boyfriend. Jianxing and I rarely posted on social media, sometimes going a year or two without an update, simply because neither of us thought to make things official, which led to this whole misunderstanding. Jianxing also took out his phone and showed it to me. It's almost dead. I'll post once I charge it in the car. Are we leaving now? I glanced at the post-successful notification and casually slipped my phone into Jianxing's pocket. Yes. Where are we going? Since I'm still jealous. Jianxing took my hand and led me toward the exit. Tonight, you're penalized by taking me to that dessert shop for that delicious cake. Behind us were dazzling lights and bustling crowds. In the cooling evening breeze, I looped my arm through Jianxing's and walked away, stepping on our shadows. What if the dessert shop is closed? Then we'll go for barbecue. Why don't we just go for barbecue? Good idea.